Ambusher jump jets. Tip is where you're looking is where you're going, unless your joystick says otherwise. But let's say you tap your jet button. You'll go slightly far. You won't go too far, and your jets automatically start increasing. But if we do the same distance and hold, you'll go much farther, and your jets will take longer to start refilling. So always keep that in mind. Of course, you can crouch and keep your distance very low. When you hold down L1, you will be propelled longer up in the air, even if you are crouching. So let's say you let go, you can immediately pull yourself down and do a short little tap jump. For skirmisher, you're slower. You have, of course, you have the mobility to, that's a funny name, you have the mobility to go vertical, but you have slightly less horizontal, yet you still have horizontal. You can just shoot up. Always keep your positioning in mind, because you are slower. What you could do, let's say you know someone's up there, put up here, get a few hip fire shots, wherever, try to get some damage in. You can jump onto this railing and get a quick, easy flank on them. I won't call it a flank, but more mobility. You're able to get to higher places easier than ambushers and drifters, and use that to your advantage. For drifter jets, I recommend if you lean sideways, you go slightly faster. An implant that I recommend, not mandatory, but it's always a bitch to deal with, is cat-like. If you have cat-like on your drifter jet build, you're able to jump and use your jets to just repeatedly jump, gain the high altitude, turn around, get a shotgun shot in, get more shots. Of course, you can do this with an SMG, but it's always a pain in the ass to deal with because it's hard to hit. Now, with Icarus, it's the complete opposite. Drifters have full horizontal. Icarus have full vertical. Very little horizontal. So let's say you wanted to get up to there, you can. But be careful, when your jets run out, it takes longer to refill if you fully get rid of it. So what you'll probably want to stay aware of is stay aware of your jet fuel. End it at a minimum so it automatically starts refilling. You can keep your mobility up. You can just slowly start pushing. I recommend running before you use the jets. It'll allow you to get to higher places and gives you that mobility and the horizontal factor that you wouldn't have normally. Of course, it's much easier to scale the tower, to place a beacon at the top, like right here. And yeah, that's the jets. Alright, light assault tips. First thing, you're going to want to, I recommend at least, have Typhoon rockets. Has the same ammo, shoots the same speed. Only difference is it does not shoot as fast, as you can see. I mean, it shoots as fast. It has a larger bullet drop, which does take some getting used to, and when you're in the air, it's much harder to control exactly where you shoot. I got my assistant over here. Gear-wise, carbines are really good. I mean, you could use an SMG, which is also good, but I would recommend a higher damage output SMG. The Punisher is really good, and so is the Jackal. For light assault, there are many types of jets you get. Skirmisher is the one you start off with, which is really good actually for getting on top of roofs. And if you do have the impulse grenade, you can add that to its advantage and get higher. Same thing with ambushers. Icarus jump jets are, while they are able to go higher, you have to learn how to control it, because there are times when you shoot up, you barely have any horizontal control, so it's harder to land on surfaces you're not aiming for in the first place. Drifter jets are one of the trickiest to master, only because it's just certain mechanics. Like, you go faster when you're going at an angle, and you can go up, like, with the combination of implants. Like, right now, I recommend running for just the basic light assault, avoidance, and safe fall. It's the best for ambushers because you can fall. Like, if you wanted to fall off this landing pad, you can just walk off and you'll be fine. There, I took 18 damage. normally you die within 20 meters or basically something like that. So I recommend maxing out safe fall, at least on any class. If you don't have avoidance, something I recommend you can run is probably regeneration, because you aren't going to be running stims really. And it's better to have a constant supply of health than anything, because C4 for Sundays is going to be one of your main priorities. You can have other classes, of course, where you have stims and everything, but you're going to want to focus on blowing up Sundays when need be. Flight suit, while it does help and you can notice a difference, it's most likely you're going to want to be running adrenaline pump or advanced shield capacitor, because one, it helps regenerate shield faster, and let's say you're taking fire, by the time you get shield and it's fully filled up again, your ambusher should be completely filled up, so you can just quickly fly out of any situation you're in. Now, something most people don't realize is that, let's say you have you have enemies coming up this elevator and standing in the middle. What you can do is, if you're at a landing pad near a biolab, if you take the jump pad and you use your ambushers midair, you can direct where you land, and it's best to land on these black slabs on the side of the biolab. It's easier to run up. You can basically just run at a 90-degree angle at this point, and you have up until you get to the very last bar, which is the 90 degree to run up. Like, it's hard to run up the side, and I wouldn't recommend it, because the more you run and the more you have these little jumps, the slower you will be, because your character, believe it or not, has stamina. So you're able to, let's say you jump a whole bunch of times in the same spot, you're going to actually become a lot slower and a heavier target, believe it or not, and that could get you killed very fast, especially because you just use ambushers to get on here from that launch pad. So when you land up here, what I recommend doing is not staying here, unless maybe you landed right here. Maybe then you can crouch with some cover and start shooting down. But I recommend coming up to this part where you can walk on the these panels, and what you can do is you can have your line of sight that when you crouch up, you can start shooting. So then, once you are able to do that, I recommend at least get 2 kills before switching positions. And with safe fall, you can just ambush her right back, and if you crouch midair, you get pulled towards the ground faster, and you could just take the launch pad again and repeat. Because most of the time when you take a launch pad, people are going to be following you. You're going to have multiple people follow you. So let's say you don't take this approach. If you come here, I recommend immediately going to the other side. And usually there's canisters here you can just sit behind. You can check in the air if people are following you, and I always recommend spotting them. It's better to spot, because not only do they show up on your map, at nighttime it's easier to, or in smoke, it's easier to see this triangle and just to shoot at that. Because if you shoot right beneath the triangle, it's a headshot, and headshots do an insane amount of damage. So that's with biolabs. There's other tips, like when you want to go inside here, jump on here and stay on this section. You can run up here, but you're vulnerable to here. You're vulnerable to everybody over here that can see you, and there's also here. So if you stay on this little ledge and you crouch, it's harder for these people to see you. You're going to have to watch over here while your jets refill, and then you could just jump onto this right here. You're able to walk on all of these, and you can just walk around on the rooftops. Always use the terrain. A person who takes a straight path and is running out in the open is usually the person that gets shot. Like, let's say you're coming in on this side, and you just got up here, your team is pushing, and you're pushing in. So what I would recommend is, instead of pushing down at these 2 lanes, what you can do is you can walk on this rock path, which is covered by trees and grass, and if you run fast enough, you can jump onto this roof, and on this roof, you have all of this you can shoot at. You can get a bunch of kills. But if you start getting shot at, since it's a rotating building, you can crouch over here for cover. You can jump onto here and get a bunch more cover over here. I'm stuck. And this building, while it is good, I don't recommend staying here because their spawn is right there. And there's always light assaults coming up from right here. So if you want to peek this angle, what I recommend doing is taking this. I missed. Alright, you get the point. Taking this up here. It's much easier to take. It has a lot more cover than most buildings. And I'll show you in a second when I get up there. I would not recommend going from here to here. You're in line of sight of how they see you. So either jump from right over here, or the safer option is either to just walk across this right here, if you can do it fast enough and not get shot at. Do it from over here. While you do have people here that may be looking at you, it's less likely because they're probably more focused on B point and the generator doors. So what you can do is on this roof, just jump across right here. Of course, crouch midair so you get pulled towards the ground faster. And what you can do is peek maybe right here at this angle, run around, peek a few at this angle, and always be track of who you kill. If you kill, let's say you kill someone you know is a sweat at the game, they're probably going to be coming after you in a few seconds. Either they have an infiltrator now pulled up on here that's going to be trying to shoot you down. So change floors. You can always just jump down here. And this has more cover. You can peek through here to get some line of sight if they're going on the roof. You can just shoot through here, shoot their feet if you have K-cap rounds. Over here, you could just start shooting again. And after a few kills, you might want to jump away. You can always come up on this tree that is hardly ever utilized. No one really ever looks up here, and it has great line of sight of this entire spawn. So let's say you have a good gun like I have, the Cougar. Light up a few people, and then change positions to a higher spot. But always be aware of anybody that has visual of you. Like, this entire area is very hard to counter because not only do they have visual of you up here, they have visual of you on the tree. So I recommend staying mobile. That's your best bet of staying alive at this base. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Biolabs. Recording. Let me actually. Alright, so we have a tower base now. These bases are easier to defend and also harder depending on the enemy population. First thing you can do is maybe come out the front, take a look at what you're trying to get, see if anyone's on the roof, see if anyone is shooting the balconies right here, see if anyone is in the windows. Those are easy spots you can look at. Always take the up elevator so you can get higher for your first attack. Then what you can do is, this base is easy to connect. You can just jump right off, land somewhere on this building, start shooting immediately. If you have a beacon on the roof, let's say you have someone that's a dick and they slap the beacon on the top of this tower, jump down. Oops. Not like that, of course. So if you take the up elevator, push forward, at the very end hold X, so you go even higher. Most people, I didn't hold X there, most people land here and then continue up here. But if you hold X near the very top when you push forward, you're able to jump straight up here. Now it may be hard to get further, that's a weird glitch, but you could just ambush her up to here. If you need to go any higher, I recommend bringing impulse grenades for this, or a different kind of, bring skirmishers, bring Icarus. You can impulse on the ground, jump straight up here, kill any beacon that you need. Of course, impulse grenades cost nanites, so keep that in mind. When taking a tower, use this little area. You can always jump down and use this gap area as a want to run away. This area is hard to traverse because there are people always running out of this spawn area right here. Some bases have the SCU right here, so it is more populated. Example, the Crown. So I recommend running around these corners, using your skirmishers or ambushers to glide along the roof. Not skirmishers, drifters or ambushers. Because when you use them on the roof, it stops your vertical and keeps your horizontal momentum. Next, when going into this base, let's say you want to push up. Use the least amount of exposure time to get up here. You don't want to be exposed for too long. People up here will always be looking, trying to kill you. They have great line of sights on all of these angles, and they have the perfect natural cover they can fall back to. They have this entire balcony exposed as well. So what you want to do is, there's no time to plan about this. You're just going to have to be fast. Unless you know that you're not going to make it, I don't recommend it. But if you know you have a chance of making it up here, what you can do is immediately ambush her up here, turn your camera, and just start running. Then you can just run up here, use these corners, ambush her up here, take the up pad if you're on that side. If you're not on this side, just hope no one's watching, and you can just ambush her up anywhere. I recommend staying on the very top, and if you can't get that X right, land up there. You can stay up there, no one's looking up there when they're running here. It's not in their field of view. Unless they're on here, they turn around and they just see your ass up there. Then you just gotta jump off with your safe fall. Hopefully you live. If you don't, tough shit. Next tip, from the helipads, you could jump from point to point. Of course, land in here, start blasting your way to point. Most people don't expect an immediate assault from the top. Then you could use the balcony, the rails, always give you extra height. If you have time to get the extra height, there's no harm in taking it. It allows you to traverse faster, it allows you to get farther distance, and just surprise enemies. Again, sometimes they have sunderers up here. You can just walk around. Always, this is probably one of the more important tips, always use the terrain to your advantage. There is no point in being a light assault that walks in a straight line. Always try to find the higher area, always try to have the upper hand. You could just walk along. I missed my spot, but you get the point. Always look for an advantage when being a light assault. The higher you are, of course, the harder it is to hit your shots, but the more you're able to spot everybody in this huge area, the less likely you're to get spotted. If you know they have a sunderer, you could just, of course, go to it, drop some C4 as you're falling, get them in place. Remember, keep them a little bit separated so they don't blow each other up and cause less damage. If they do cause less damage, use the strat of hopping around the sunderer to guard yourself. And remember, if someone else has C4, what you can do is cause a chain explosion to kill it faster. These are tower bases, so of course, when you're attacking at points, there's going to be people shooting from all of these balconies, all of these cover spots. Again, use the terrain. You know someone's going to be shooting. Try to stay out of line of sight. Of course, you do that jump a little earlier, you're able to get behind here so no one can see you. And you have a direct cover between A and C point. You can jump between the tree and then land right here, and you have perfect cover. Sometimes there's thunder in that garage. If you know there is, of course, jump right up here. Less cover than the tech plant, but it's easier to also hide here. You could watch for angles, listen for footsteps, watch for shadows that come in depending on what time of day it is on the map. Drop down, shoot them. Come up here if you're getting cornered and you know your team has the front. Quickly just ambush her up here. You don't have to land on this platform. If you know you're not going to make it, you can always land on right here. You're able to walk here, you're able to crouch here, you're able to do whatever. Windows, of course, are important. Throw some grenades if you want to take the building. Throw a grenade through the window. Learn how to arch your grenades. Very important. Alright, that's a tower base. Alright, so here we are at a tech plant. This is another big base that you're going to want to start learning how to take properly. First thing is usually initial fights or defense come through this elevator. So one thing you can do is jump up on this terminal and immediately take this balcony. It's cover, you can decide which way you want to go, left or right. And when you're defending, you can start guarding this. If anyone comes up, guaranteed a free spot and a kill. Next thing you're going to want to do for attacking or defending is hop up here. What I recommend doing is walking up the first staircase and immediately jumping to whatever side has this cover, if there are people on the balcony. So let's say you have someone on that side of the balcony, take the opposite side and immediately hide behind this cover, because you can peek left or right, unless they spotted you. If they spotted you, you can go on top and gun them down immediately. If you have a concussive grenade or a flash grenade, throw it to that side and kill them. Your squad mates can also push and you can corner him. If they run out there, what you can do is immediately push out and shoot them out here. A beacon spot, which is very good for taking bases, is up here. You can line up that you're free and place it on here or in here, which is probably better because it's harder to see when on the balcony. So if an enemy walks out here, all they see is that red mist and they think, oh, it's probably down there, and they jump down and try to look for it, but it's up there. What they can probably do, if you see a beacon up here and you can't get to it, if you have an infiltrator, you could ask him to throw an EMP over there, and that would just destroy it by proximity. Next thing you're going to want to do is start taking point. So let's say you have a couple guys on point, you shoot them out, you have a medic, you jump down here, you can get onto point really fast. If you need to get here fast and no one's on point, I recommend rushing towards the middle, taking here, and holding down through the point. It's harder to see you on this side. Bagala, can you stand right in front of point, like facing outwards? Other side, like through the point. You're looking at me. It's harder to see from the staircase. So let's say I'm an enemy coming up here. If I'm an enemy and I see, all I see is the point really, but he has clear line of sight of where I'm coming from. It's a free spot, it's a free kill. Next thing is over here. Let's say you're standing here and the A point on the top of your screen goes to contested. What you can do is do a quick peek, and I screwed up there. I didn't pull myself down. If you jump up with ambushers, you can pull yourself down really quick with crouch. You get a quick peek, spot your enemies. You don't have to actually spot them, but keep their locations in mind, because your next push could just be flanking them, doing a quick rotation, and then just gunning them down. Another thing you're going to want to learn is that, let's say you know someone's camping the teleporters. What you can do is take the up elevator, and if you spin if you push forward and spin, you can go up faster, and at the end I recommend holding X because you'll shoot out of the elevator instead of staying slow. Another beacon spot is usually not all of these turrets are on, so you can just jump up here. I recommend always going to the highest point, which would be up there, but if you can't reach there because you have drifters or something, I recommend at least going on here and placing your beacon somewhere around there or farther out here. What you can also do is you can jump over to here. You have great cover spots. You could leave the elevator early before you get to the top. Great cover spots here. You can put beacons in each and every one of these little gaps. With that, you can also drop down on the flag, have some cover here. You can crouch to dodge all the cover right here, shoot over here. Same for the other way. You can crouch, lose all your line of sight, and then shoot over there. I don't recommend staying in this area for too long because spawn is visible and they can shoot at you with sniper rifles. A tip for getting into the base: do not try and jump up here unless you know what you're doing and you find a way. Usually ambushers will not make it up here. If you have impulse grenades, of course you can throw one at the ground and then of course get up here. But what I recommend doing, if you don't have impulse grenades, is let's say you have flashes or concussion, what you can do is run over to here, about the halfway point of the first staircase, jump towards over here. Take this cover. It's better. You have less people having access to shoot at you. If you have people on the balcony, don't do this if you have people here. I recommend slowly pushing up the stairs and shooting at them. And as soon as they start shooting at you, if you have teammates on that side that are going to start, what you can do is engage in the air while hip firing. Don't aim down sight. It's sloppier, and usually if you have a lower sensitivity while aiming down sight than you do spinning and hip fire, it'll get you killed. And if you hip fire, you'll be surprised how many times you actually get the kill, because it leads more towards the top of your reticle for some guns, I've noticed, than the middle. So I recommend, of course, aiming at the middle, but if you're going to shoot at someone, aim like right near the top, and you'll get those headshots and you'll get the kill. And if you do die, your team will be pushing here, he'll be too distracted to notice, and you'll have this entire area. From here, what you can do is, of course, push here. You can spot everyone on point. And 1 second. Alright, you can spot everyone on point. Clear the point, of course. Next thing you can do is take up here. If you have drifter jets, you can get up here easy. If you have impulse grenades, you can get up here easy as well. I, of course, have to miss. Those areas are never looked at. You can always get easy kills, easy everything. I recommend, if you want to get up there and you have the time, stand on here, and you can have any sight that you want. You could just jump up here and take it. I keep missing. You get the idea. Everything else, take the balcony. It's important. Follow the steps I showed before. If anybody is on here, you can just start shooting at them on the balcony from right here. Drop down maybe, and go through here, straight through. Try to land with crouching. Try to land over here so you can take this cover. You have a wall behind you completely blocking their line of sight. When getting in from the side door, anybody can do this. It's not a class specific. If you parkour correctly, anybody can just walk up this side door and jump onto this this area. For light assaults, however, I recommend jumping onto here and then trying to make it through, because you can land on here and immediately take this high ground. Start pushing balcony, start pushing staircase if you're defending. Alright, we're going to focus on right now Sunday killing and just traversing in general. Let's say you know people are on the other side. Let's say they're on the left right over here. They're across this rock path. What you can do, instead of just walking in front of them and just using your ambushers to get around them that way, you can use the terrain to jump up, walk around, learn which pathways you're able to walk across. They look different. Like, you can walk up here, you can't walk up on here. The rocks look more slanted. But if you run up on, let's say, this part's able to be walked upon. When you start learning it, it's easier to notice which one is able to be walked upon. But what you can do is start taking high ground over here and start shooting your way. I recommend not actually shooting, because it'll reveal your position unless you have a suppressor on, which is highly unlikely for a light assault, unless you roll that way. I'm not judging. But it does take time. You do need to be patient for some kills. Like, have your team, if you know your team's distracting and they're on a push, what you can do is run across here, walk up, and you can start spotting. Before you do anything, make sure you know what you're shooting at. So let's say they have a Sunder here. If you don't have avoidance and they have a Spitfire, I recommend spotting it. More often than not, when you spot something, your teammates are more likely to shoot at something. What you can do is jump across, try to keep yourself on here. If you have to, you can walk on until your jets recharge and you can get to higher ground. If you walk into a wall while falling, you can sustain yourself at that altitude or wherever you're at for a longer period of time. Start spotting, and then when you're ready, if you have safe fall, what you can do is jump across, get your C4 out, and then start placing it. As soon as you place it, I recommend backing away from it, then blowing it up. Because you don't want to kill yourself in the fire, you won't be able to get your rocket rifles out. And if it's not a shield sunderer, it'll take 2 C4 and 2 volleys of your rocket rifles. Invis sundies are the exact same, and repair sundies, default sundies, everything is the same. Now, what I have on my Sunday is something harder to kill. And I don't know if I'll be able to kill it due to friendly fire, but I'll show you an easier way to kill Sundays by yourself with like bare minimum players around it. An easier thing to do is to stalk on these roofs. You can get to the roof, let's say you're coming from the spawn room. You can find a way or just jetpack onto this balcony right here. Jump onto the roof, keep your distance from everybody, try not to be seen. Recommend going over here. You have a better line of sight instead of just doing this. Some have cobalts. Stay away from those if they have a gunner in them, or at least try to go around from their field of view because they will destroy you immediately. Unless you get super close, like unless you're able to just get right up on it, don't go near it. Now what I recommend doing is placing accordion bombs somewhere along the front. You can look up and it'll be placed farther in. I say the front because people are spawning on this side. If they have a sunderer that's up against the wall, more players are likely to spawn on this side. And since accordion bombs are harder to see nowadays, I always recommend placing them somewhere that they'll blend in. Accordion bombs have a timer. I recommend as soon as this blows up, you shoot it with a rocket rifle. Of course, friendly fire, of course, negates a lot of the damage. Usually, it'll blow up. 1 or 2, most likely 1, depending on their upgraded, their level and everything. You can destroy their shield, and then it's just a normal sunderer. Put the C4 on, and make sure you do this really fast, because you don't want the shields coming up when you blow up the C4. That'll negate everything. You pop your C4 on. I recommend always never put it in the same spot. That'll get it killed, and don't put it near it. Let's say you have one on here. You keep running. You throw it on here. You blow it up. Then, what you do is you jump around. Always be jumping. Keep a track of your ambushers. If they have a sunderer out in the open, what I recommend doing is shooting it with a rocket here. And if there's no one here, you have a shot at shooting it again, because people get alerted that their sunderer is under attack. They're obviously going to try to protect that. You shoot it with your rocket rifle a little bit, and if you notice someone's coming, you can either go around it, go up. Try your best to keep out of their line of sight. It doesn't matter at this point if your rockets damage you, because they're only going to do less damage than getting shot at. Of course, you don't want to die. That's the whole point. But what you do is you shoot, and let's say you know they're coming from this side. What you can do is you can just jump around to the back right here and start shooting. Keep your distance from over here next, because that's where they're going to be. You stay closer to here, but also keeping the corner of your eye on this corner of the sunderer. After that, their sunderer should be dead, and then either you can choose to engage the person shooting at you, which is not likely because the explosion of the sunderer will damage you, but it will damage them too. I recommend always just escaping for a brief time and moving on. Next thing you could do for movement, let's say you had a sunderer in the rocks over there, and this is a different base completely. You could just use this anywhere. You can use ambushers and impulse nades to get increased speed. So let's say you wanted to get to that door right there. What you can do is ambusher, look at the ground before you land, throw it, and then you're in the door like that. Then you jump up here. Always recommend when you're coming at this L-shaped staircase, if you have a box here, jump up on it, get the line of sight, get the cover. There's not always cover here. Sometimes it's just a gap. We're at a tech plant, so it's a little different. But there's bases where you can just jump up, start shooting, and then immediately take whatever you had to take. And a tip is, let's say people are gunning down your spawns. You got people on all doors. What you can do, of course, is run up the stairs. And not many people do this. To get to point, what you can do is take the launch pads that are on the side. Of course, you can either land right there, or you can use your ambushers to get on this black part of the roof. Run up here. Let's say you needed to get your squad. Over here you can drop a beacon, let's say right there, and move on. There is an elevator through 2 doors on the side. Please don't fall off. Alright. Yeah, there's an elevator down here, and if they do not have both generators destroyed, this will be fully enclosed. You have full access. If this is your faction, you can go in here, you can spot, and then what you do is you do a quick peek, you do a quick everything, you spot both sides, make sure no one's there, you take the point. If no one is behind you, I do not recommend standing right here. You are open for light assaults to just come up here, blast you with the shotgun, blast you with the SMG carbine. Dang it, Bagala, what the hell. Alright, so you can take, of course, one of these corners, crouch, if you know your team is good. You can take one of those corners up top. I wouldn't recommend it still. I recommend staying back here. If anyone starts shooting at you, you can jump off. If this is your faction, you can have a choice of going in there. You have the elevators, of course, behind you, beneath. You can jump under the stairs and get some shield back. Pretend like you're on the stairs. See if anyone will try to spot you. Of course, one tip I recommend when doing any of this, if you are in a door, you can, of course, hit your head and you will lose your vertical momentum, but keep all of your horizontal momentum. I'll show you right here. Amp stations are usually designed the exact same. Usually you just get used to it. So let's say you need to get to that door right there, but you don't really want to go that high. If you hit your head on the door, you lose your vertical, but you're able to keep your horizontal. And a tip I recommend right after coming out of ambushers is just bunny hopping. If you jump right as you land, you can get some extra speed. It's not much, but it helps sometimes. Now, amp stations, when hacking a generator, I'm just going to give this tip. You can move around. I see people stand still. Don't do that. You can shoot you can aim down sight and shoot. As long as you're holding down square, you can do whatever you want. What you can do is hold down square before. I don't know if they patched that or if that was like even a bug. I think that's just one of the things you could do. When it comes to buildings like these are important buildings because there are bases with points in these buildings. This is extremely important. When taking stairs, don't always rush it. If you know someone is on these stairs watching it, what you can do is go up the other stairs, and instead of trying to initiate a fight, immediately run towards the stairs over here and take cover around here. You could choose to engage here, draw their attention, but then like do it a couple times so it makes you look like you're only going to be peeking this angle. Jump straight across, try to land not on the stairs but in the gap so you can get a quick firing session on them, possibly gun them down. Usually the point is in this room right here where you are exposed to the windows, the patio, another window right back here. So if you're standing right here, always keep an eye on this door and this window. You have this door. Keep an eye on your map too. My map has been exposed, but you can zoom in and out with your D-pad. Now I recommend if you know someone is coming, let's say you see someone is on this side of the map where my yellow marker is. If you look at the bottom left of my screen, most likely they're going to be running towards the first stairs they see right here. Same comes from this door. If they run to this door, watch these stairs, and if you see them run farther into the building, like past the stairs right here, they're probably going to be running into these stairs. So what you can do is, I wouldn't recommend pushing entirely. If you know you have pure cover on the roof, you can come up the stairs and peek this angle. Yeah, that's where I'm going next, Barella. Now, a big key factor is there are other light assaults that play this game who know what they were doing. If you have someone that's on the stairs at the map and they're not on the map, or let's say they're on the very edge, and you suspect them of being on the roof, like if you see someone on the side of a building for a long period of time, it's probably a light assault trying to get to the very top of the roof. Now, when taking these points, what you can do is hold this, and if you see someone on that side, always come up the opposite side, get a quick angle on them, see if you can spot them through here. Spotting is important so you know where you can ambush, where they're looking at. Let's say he's looking straight down here. What I can do is jump around, start hip firing, and then aim down sight. As soon as I land, get the couple shots in, and take him out. If they are on this side of the roof, what you can do is, if no one is downstairs, of course you can fall downstairs, crouch, and just be ready to shoot them. If they are on here and there are people on the roof, you can always run out here, do a quick jump, and start shooting them. One thing you can do with your ambushers is jump and lean backwards. You can always go backwards and everything, and you can change your momentum on how you fly. Let's say you jump forward, but you turn. Wherever your camera is facing, if you keep pushing forward, you'll be able to change. So let's say you're jumping here, you want to make it to the right. Bam, you made it to this roof while jumping towards this kind of tower. What the hell? Alright. So, let's say you want to get to the roof quick and you have impulses. Throw it at this slant, and then jump right into this gap. Always try to land in, not as much in here. Land on these steps, so when you do slide, it'll slide and stop right around here. Then you could choose how you want to push. If you're not comfortable with landing yet, you can land farther up here. Recommended behind this cover, unless there's people, of course, aiming at you through there. Always try to land where you're not going to be shot at immediately. If you're pushing from this patio, you can always just jump around. There's not always a window here. Jump around at the window, get a couple shots in, then just hop right back on here. You can start shooting through here. There's another window, of course. You throw frags in. You can just toss a frag in, clear someone out. If you have concussions, of course, always throw those in if you are worried about immediately dying. And that's this building.